our team as well. And there's really not a lot of flexibility. With us, I feel like there's a bit of flexibility. Our teams are a bit more fluid, so you might play on one team 1 week, and then we might ask you to play on another team another week. So I did want to, well, I'll get back to that. I have some notes at the end as well. So any questions on the difference between academy?
Is there a fall rec league? I thought it was just the academy.
There isn't. No, there's
Nope,
only
yeah,
spring
so-
rec.
Oh,
So rec
But
is,
academy
I'm sorry,
is fall and spring with a
spring
winter
only
train.
for.
Sorry, Ross.
So the overall mission to provide a more challenging environment for soccer players who want to continuously improve their skills. That's the goal for us, for the academy, for the coaches, and I really feel like the coaches do a great job of living that. And a big part of that is also the parents. We'll get into some of that with the parents as well. I think our Electric City parents do a great job. From that meeting I had mentioned, some other academy teams talking about their parent issues, I guess, and just some off the field stuff. I feel pretty lucky that I'm part of Electric City and not some of the other teams that we and leagues that we play against. So I would say the biggest thing, and this is really difficult. I talked to some parents before this meeting started, is to motivate through encouragement. This is big developmental years for your sons and daughters, so it's really easy to want to push them maybe a little bit more. I find myself doing this on the sideline, but really motivate through encouragement. I would say that's probably the biggest, the biggest, I don't know what to say, focus point of academy. So, and then the 4 pillars of academy: growth and improvement, sportsmanship, positive attitude, and teamwork. So sometimes the players can get down on themselves. I saw it this weekend. My son's team lost a few games, lost 2 out of 3, and was really grumpy at me. Was really non-verbal for an hour or 2, which was weird. But he's kind of learning some competitiveness. So some of that was good, but really trying to have that positive attitude throughout the whole experience. So like I mentioned, kind of hard on a parent's perspective and the coaches we had some grumpy kids because they saw trophies up at the concession stands and they didn't win the trophies. So try to spin that for them and what's the learning opportunity here as well. So really, the successful, and this is really for any rec or academy, but successful academy players enjoy the game of soccer. Really, we want them to be out there because they want to be out there, not because their parent is pushing them to be out there. We're trying to build successful players and people at the same time. If they go on to do great things in soccer, great. If they don't go much beyond academy, so be it. But we want them to be there because they love the game. They're there with their friends and really enjoying every experience, the practices and the games. They have a desire to listen and improve, are committed to the 2 training sessions each week. So that might be a change for some of you who were in rec, and then are ready to work hard during games and practice.
Okay,
So I think I'm going to pass it over. Is this yours?
So now I'm going to talk about the U8 a little bit. So for those of you that have players going into U8, just cover a few things. So in U8, so now if any of you played soccer when you were younger, this might be a little different. So they do what's called 4v4 now. So it's 4 players, no goal. And I'll get into it a little bit later, but it's great, A, to teach the kids the most important parts of soccer, and B, it makes sure that everybody gets a chance to touch the ball. So it's much less boring than the soccer that I played when I was a kid. In the way we do it, everybody plays all positions, so we're not going to lock someone in. We're going to get them involved all across the board. We're going to keep things simple. At this age group, kids are moving from chasing the ball. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but where they're at developmentally, we're not going to overwhelm them with a lot. We're going to focus on 1, maybe 2 things each week. We're going to see how it works out in the game, and then we'll keep building on that. We do snacks. This is very important. Your players will tell you it's very, very important. Don't mess up the snacks, and this is something that as parents I'll need your help with later. And then one thing that is nice about this is we have the U10 program, and if players are doing really well in U8 and need a challenge, I can let them go up and play with U10. We had 2 or 3 players that did that last year, actually both the girls and the boys, and it was really good for their development. So the nice thing about this program is, when you get to the place where your player is kind of hitting their limit, we can send them up even now. Okay, so this is something that I think is very important. It's how will the players learn? So they're moving from the stage where they're just chasing the ball, swarm ball, to actually playing a position, and that's something that we encourage them to do more at this level. So we're helping them move away from chasing the ball to, oh, well, if my teammate's chasing the ball, what should I do? So we start to work on that. There's a lot better focus. In fact, you see a huge jump between 6 and 7. I have players, when they're 6, they come out and they're still a little bit, they have a hard time focusing, but when they get to 7, it's amazing how much their focus shifts. So this is a big transition age group where they go from not having as much focus to actually having quite a bit of focus, which will then transition up to the next level. There's multiple phases of soccer. We start to cover that in some basic form. We also get them to start thinking about techniques, so you can do more than just kick the ball. What else can you do with it? The big thing here, and Ross mentioned this, but I can't stress it enough, encouragement and praise work so well. So well. It is, and mind you, I as a parent, I have a hard time doing this with my own son, which is why when he went up to U10, I decided to stay with the U8, because I can encourage everybody but him. So as a parent, it's going to be really hard. Someone said it really well. They said, when your kid has a bad game, they know it. They don't need you to tell them all the things they did wrong. They need you to tell them that you think they're amazing and that you're so proud of them, and then take them out for ice cream. So, and for the kids back there, you heard me say that. But really, and again, when we look at the games, when we're at the games and you're watching the players play, as much as you can, encourage, because that will get back to helping players love the game and develop into it. At a very basic level, I want you, in case you're not into soccer, in case you've not played before, I want to just cover the very basics of what we do, so that when you're looking at things out on the field, you can connect what you see to that we're doing it for a purpose. So if you watch professional soccer, you will see professional players form this diamond over and over and over again, because it opens up 3 passing lanes. It's much harder to defend than a box or other shape. So we start very early creating this diamond shape. You have a forward, a defender, and 2 midfielders. This is posted on TMAP. This is something that you can go look at. But the main thing I want you to be able to connect this to is, as parents, there's goals that each of the players or each of the positions has. And as you cheer for your player, try to cheer for them to do the right thing. So if they're playing defense and they make a good defensive play, cheer for that. If they're playing the wide midfielder and they make a good pass up the field, cheer for that. It's not always just about scoring goals. And even though the forward's job is to score goals, if they make a pass too, cheer for that. So there's lots of things to cheer for. Any questions so far? Am I going too fast?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you tell us what the breakdown is with age?
Say that differently.
What's the breakdown of age that the kids are that are in U8 versus U10?
It goes by year.
By year.
So 2010 and 11 are technically U10 now,
Yep.
and then 2012 and 13 are technically U8.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions?
It is very confusing because you might be 8, but you have to be in U10 right now. Because of it goes by the end of the year in June of next year. It gets pretty confusing in fall.
Okay.
For
Thanks.
sure.
So the other thing that we will start to focus on is, what are the techniques that are going to make you successful down the road? And these are very, very basic things. And honestly, it's something like I'll mention later. As parents, even if you don't feel you know anything about soccer, if you do these things with the kids at home, and I've one of my favorite things is when a player comes to practice and all of a sudden they're just kicking the ball with power. And I say, where did that come from? Like, oh, I practiced with my dad, or Mom and I worked on that. And you can just see the difference. So again, we really will focus on using the side of the foot for passing. We're going to avoid the toe almost at all costs. If there's one thing you can always tell your players is, don't use your toe. Dribbling with the laces, shooting with the side of the foot or with the laces. So sometimes players come in trapping the ball like this. That's hard to control, so we're going to work on them trapping it with the side of their foot. Controlling the ball with multiple parts of your foot, rolling it with the top, rolling it with the bottom of your foot, bouncing it with the outside of your foot. We'll work on that. And then the last is on defense. A lot of times players want to run up and take the ball away. We're going to focus on containment defense, so getting up and staying between that person with the ball in the goal. So these are the major techniques we want the kids to come out from U8 having some skill in so that they'll be able to succeed when they get to U10. And these are all things that, again, as parents, you should be able to work on with them at home if you have time. So what do I expect? Again, as many practices as possible. Ross mentioned that we have 2 a week. The kids, I want them to follow my instructions in practice and in games. I try to keep it simple. I try not to give them too many instructions. I want kids to do their best. This is really big. If a player is out there doing their best, they will always get better, always make a difference. And then the other thing is respect teammates. So I want our teams to be a place where everybody feels engaged, everybody feels like they belong, and that's going to start with the players. So, and I've actually been really proud of the kids. We've had very little trouble with kids making each other feel like they don't belong. So these are the major things that I look for from players. Any questions? All right, so now all of you parents, what do I want from you? So I mentioned practicing at home. Again, I can't stress that how important it is, even any little bit you can do. Whether it's working on them to pass with the side of their foot, working on them, teach them a new, or what did you learn in practice? Why don't you show me? Whatever you can do will help them. And the thing is, a lot of times they're really proud and they want to show off something. So if they learned a new move at practice, they probably want to tell you all about it. If you let them, they're going to get excited about it and do it more. Which is the second point. Again, I mentioned this, tell the kids what they're doing well. So if you see them doing something good from the sidelines, let them know that you're proud of them. Let them know that they're doing a good job. Again, praise is going to help a lot. And again, when things don't go well, keep encouraging. So that's really what I want from all of you as parents here. So before I turn this over to Nate, the one last thing I would say is I do have some volunteer needs. We'll talk about volunteering at the end. But a lot of my coaches, sideline coaches, practice coaches, all graduated to U10 this year. So there is no previous soccer knowledge required to help coach U8. If you like to encourage, if you like working with kids, I have lesson plans that I can work through. I don't need people that necessarily know soccer. I need people that will work with the kids and encourage them and build them up. So it doesn't matter if you don't know. If you've got some time, if you're going to be at the practice anyway, please talk to me. I'd love to get you plugged in and have you help me either during the practices or as a sideline coach on the games. And right now it looks like we're going to have at least one boys and one girls team. So I'm going to need probably 3 practice people and potentially 1 to 2 sideline coaches. So if you're at all interested, if you could spare me some time, I would love to have you. So with that plug in, I'll turn it over to Nate.
Before you do though, I don't think you mentioned this, and I'm not sure if there's anyone who's new to U8, but can you explain, because if you're new, the fact that there's not officials might be a little bit different, so that might be something to touch on quick.
Sure, so the academy does not have official referees during the U8 games, which means that the coaches on the sidelines are in essence calling things. Now, there really aren't a lot of fouls, there really aren't a lot of bad plays, and when there are, the coaches have been pretty good about calling it, but there is no referee. And for the most part, we let the kids play. I mean, the idea in U8 is you're learning skills, you're learning how to do things, so we don't need to have a referee at that level. So in that case, if things look like they're not going well, or if it looks like, if things don't look fair, we're gonna let it go quite a bit. If the kids are in trouble, or if someone's in potential, there's potential someone's going to get hurt, then the coaches will step in and stop it. So if there's dangerous plays going on, we'll stop our own kids from playing dangerously. And we'll talk to the other coach if we see that happening on the other side. But like Nate said, there are no referees at the U8 level. Any questions on U8? How many of you are U8 parents here? How many of you are going to have a kid in U8? Okay. Okay. So do any of you have any questions for me? If so, I'll be around. You can catch me afterwards. If you have any questions now for the group, please raise them. Otherwise, find me after the meeting. We can talk. Right?
All right. So my name is Nate. I know Ross introduced me before, but my name is Nate Labs. I will be working with the U10s for all practices and then be there for a lot of the games also. I'm also the the registrar for Electric City. So you'll probably get a lot of messages from me because that's kind of my job as part of the board is to send out messages to everyone. So I'm also a teacher. I teach in New Holstein School District, so I'm enjoying this time of year and not looking forward to the month of September, but trying to enjoy the last few weeks of summer here. So as we build into U10, we try to, again, we take what they do in U8 with real simple 4v4, and then we just try to build on that. So we add 3 more players in, we add some more rules in, and then we add a little more complexity and ask a little more of the kids too to get them ready. Then our goal, of course, is to get them ready for so this year it's 2010 is the oldest child. Okay, so then the next year they move into what's called classic, and that's considered more competitive soccer. And that's then where we want them to be ready for that. So, go back. If you're unfamiliar, you'll kind of learn as you go, but there's going to be things like offsides if you're new to U10, which they don't have in U8. There's build out line thing. There's different lines on the field. There's a lot of lines on the field actually. So there's different things to see there. So we focus maybe on 2 or 3 things versus maybe one that you do at U8. So we add a little bit more complexity to it as we go through things. Since rules are there, one thing that has changed this year that if you're a returning parent and if you paid attention as they've talked about it in the World Cup and into the professional leagues here, they changed the rules now about goal kicks so that goal kicks don't have to leave the box anymore, the goal box. So if you are a parent who's been watching soccer for 4 years and now you see someone touch it inside the box and they don't blow the whistle, they changed that rule. So actually it will be really good because I hated that rule. It caused a lot of issues for us always. So it'll be great for U10. Okay. So we were going to work on teamwork. Teamwork's a little bit, you start to add teamwork in now as you get a bit more people on the field. Everybody has their role. We work on passing now and try to encourage passing. 1v1 dribbling is still always important. We ask more as far as awareness on the field and focus during practice and keep building on things that like moves and things that were taught in U8. And then we're working on improvement and encouragement because as kids get to the ages of 8, 9, they don't always start to encourage each other as much. So we really work with those things too also. So as you can see from the picture, you have the same basic arrangement, but now you add a few more extra players in there. You have a few more people who are the ones who want to be, or who concentrate more on defense. And then you add a goalie, which is not something you have until you get to 7v7. So, and that's of course what every kid wants to be when they first start, is everyone wants to be the goalie. And then mostly they play it for once and then they realize, maybe I didn't want to be goalie. It's fun to be goalie unless you're playing goalie and get scored on. So, but we do introduce goalies, so that's a whole new aspect of the game. So as far as positions, again, we try to rotate. Honestly, there are kids who like to play goalie and excel at goalie, and so we try to let those people, because I don't want to force anyone to play goalie who doesn't want to. We encourage everyone to try it once in a while, but we don't want to force kids who really don't want to be put on that stage to be goalies. So we try to rotate because we really don't want a kid specializing as goalie yet. So usually the most we play would be a half. And then you need to keep playing in the field because I know some kids want to play only goalie, but you really got to keep your foot skills going so that as you get older, you're developing your complete game. All right, so player expectations for U10, same as Sam mentioned before. Attending practices are very, very important. And I'll just say my thing. I have 4 kids, and actually they're on 4 different soccer teams. So I totally get the fact that it's hard. It's hard as a parent to get all the dots connected, just like it was hard for a lot of you to get here tonight. It's hard to do all the connecting and get the kids everywhere. So we understand, there's conflicts, and we don't want to encourage anyone to have to choose to only do soccer and not do anything else. So we understand that there's going to be conflict. So what we ask is, do your best, come to the practices whenever you can. And hopefully that's all the time. Honestly, last spring we had excellent attendance despite all of the conflicts. It really helps with the kids' development and so on. So, you know, do your best definitely to try to get your child there as much as possible, but we understand that that's not always possible. We'll talk about Team App a little bit at the end, but then we'll ask everyone to kind of RSVP to let us know if they can't come. It helps for planning for practices and such. You can keep going. All right, so parent expectations, okay, what are we looking for? Again, these are going to be some of the things, but they're some of the same things, but as the kids get older, these things like winning becomes more important to a kid as they get older. When they're in U8, they may not care about, they probably don't even have any idea what the score is. At U10, we don't keep, at U10, we don't keep score, but every kid knows what the score is. And so we really, I mean, the motto kind of Academy is you don't win World Cups at U10. Okay, our goal isn't to win every game at U10 and excel there. Our goal is for the kids to excel in their future. Okay, so we're always encouraging player development more than winning, more than goal scoring. We want to score goals, and we want to score more goals than the other team, but it's not what's most important. So the more that we can get that from all of you, the more helpful it is for sure. Praise them for all the parts of the game that goes right along with it. Also, I think as you get older too, it gets you more and more want to tell your kids what to do. So, we ask that you try not to tell, and I know it's hard. I'm a parent also, so but if we have parents on the sideline telling the kids exactly what to do, and then they got a coach on the other sideline telling them what to do, they really are conflicted. So encourage your kid most definitely, but like the one thing someone might say is shoot. They all yell shoot. Well, the coach didn't really want them to shoot in that case. They wanted this to happen instead. So you never quite know. So focus on the encouragement most definitely, and try to leave the coaching to the coaches. Referees are the same. So we do introduce referees at U10, and it's rough. Anyone who's had a U10 child knows that it's rough. And I have actually 2 kids that are U10 referees now, and they're trying to learn how to do it. And it's challenging for them. It's intimidating to be in front of a lot of parents and adult coaches, and then you're supposed to be the one in charge. And sometimes they do a good job, and sometimes they don't do a good job. So, you'll have, as you get older, the refs will also get older, but we break them in at U10. These are kids barely 3 or 4 years older than the kids on the field, and they're just learning, so you really have to cut them some slack. East Central has done some great things with mentoring, actually putting adults on the field with the kids. They started that this last spring. They're going to continue it this fall, and that helps a lot, but you have to be patient with the refs. It's a learning game for everyone.
Oh, and there's one thing that they've told us is that there's a shortage of referees. Mm-hmm. So as the more that these kids stay with the reffing, the better our chances of having referees for the games. So even if you get frustrated, and I've been frustrated too, Nate's right, we got to try to remember that these kids are learning. Mm-hmm. And I will say that the mentoring seems to be helping. So
if you have an older child, when they turn 12, I think my kids started when they turned 12. There is a shortage of refs, but it's actually a really good job for a teenager. You make pretty decent money if you're willing to be able to ref, especially on these Saturday mornings when we have all these academy games.
And
all right.
Having lots of people yell at you is good training for later in life.
Well, there isn't that much yelling. We're actually pretty good overall, I would say.
Yeah.
All right. So looking forward, okay, into the details of the season. So we will be starting at the end of August with training. It runs through the end of October. We will have, starting September 7th, we will have weekly games, Saturday mornings. Usually they stick to Saturday mornings. Occasionally the U10 gets bumped up to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at the latest. Usually they're Saturday mornings. Sometimes as early as 8, but then you get done early for the day. The good thing about Academy is that if you have multiple kids, they're all in the same place each time. You don't have to go multiple places. They won't play at the same time necessarily, but they'll be in the same complex at least. When we have mega dates, those that are a mega date is where all the clubs from the whole area come. Usually it's just a couple of clubs that come, maybe Kimberly and Neenah and Appleton come and play us. Mega dates, they get every club from the entire area. There's like 13 of them. And they usually all go to Howard is where we usually do it. And everyone has 2 games. And we've, just so that you know, the second to last Saturday in October, 21st or so, 20th or so, 19th is going to be a mega day. We pleaded with making the dates reasonable. We had a rough, U10 boys had a rough schedule last time. So we tried to get them to make the dates earlier in the day. And so hopefully, but on those days, you should plan just for that. The games could be later because every team gets 2 games those days. And those are the weekends. Also, that's nice to have everyone there because it's hard to schedule, enough players for 2 games for each team. The other thing then is going to be October 12th and 13th. So these are back-to-back weekends. We are planning to go to the Copia Cup tournament, which is in Neenah. We went to it last year, and a couple of years now. We've had some. It's been a good experience for the kids to do a real tournament versus just the regular scrimmage games that we do on regular Saturdays. So it's a tournament, which means it's a Saturday-Sunday sort of thing for the entire weekend. Like I said, it will be in Neenah. This year we don't have to collect money for it. You paid an extra $25 in registration that then went to cover the tournament because tournaments are always extra. Last year we collected it, but this year we did it at registration, so we don't have to worry about that. But if you'll want to mark that on your calendar for sure, because that is, and we really can't predict on those days when the games will be. Usually there's 3, and usually there's at least one Saturday, at least one Sunday. Any questions about the weeks? So it's the 7th through the 26th. 8 weekends. 1 will be a tournament. At least 1 will be a mega date, and then there's 8 of them. That's the season, fall season. So there's also the thing up here about winter training. So a lot of you are probably familiar with that. We also offer winter training, usually starting up either late December or January, especially in January, February, and March, to get the kids extra practice during the off season. Now, that's always optional, but we don't require anyone to come. But I'll tell you, you make the most gains in the winter with those practices. They're not always the most fun because there's not games every weekend. But you make a lot of games, the most gains in the winter. So just something to keep in the back of your mind as going forward. Another thing that both Sam and I highly recommend is indoor soccer. And indoor soccer is offered in Darboy at Soccer Heaven. I know that both of our kids really got hooked on soccer, playing indoor soccer in the winter. It's just a really fast game. It has walls and everything. So it's a fun thing to do. It's not cheap. But it is a really fun thing to do in the winter. Right? So it's not a part of what we do at Electric City. However, we are happy to help parents organize teams. I know we had 3 teams last year: a U10 boys, a U10 girls, and a U8 boys. So definitely something to think about. I'm sure it won't be long before we'll have to start actually planning those things because it's hard to get the dates. So I know the boys are Friday nights if we can hopefully get in. Girls were Tuesday nights. U10 and U8 was, you guys played on Saturday, but it was also offered on Monday?
Yeah, they had an overflow date.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just something to say. So the last year was my son's last year in U10, so I had set up the U10, and then some of the parents of the U8 group said, well, hey, can we do something too? And that was something we really hadn't thought about. So I guess I'd ask you to think about now is if you think you might want to have your kids in indoor soccer in the winter, talk to me now, and I will work on organizing. I'll get some help from folks, but I can help organize. And I honestly, as a coach, it's a lot of fun to watch them bounce off of walls in the winter. So that's the other thing about this is, when they're bouncing off the walls in your house, you can take them over to our gym and they can bounce off those walls for a while.
Yeah.
We'll tire them out for you.
You want to switch oh wait, you already did. All right, so for practices specifically, so we talked about the 2 days a week. Tuesday and Thursday will be in the fall. The U8s are going to be 5:30 to 6:30. Okay. U10s will start for the first weeks. I'm going to try to do the boys and girls separate. Okay, so the girls would be first, the boys would be second. So 5:30 for girls, 6:30 for boys for U10 because we have a lot of U10 boys. Eventually, once school starts after the first week, we'll get it all into the same time, and boys and girls will both be at 5:30. In mid-October, so if you haven't played fall soccer before, the one thing that really catches you off guard is the daylight. The days get super short, super quick here. So by mid-October, we can't be outside at 6:45. It's pitch black outside. So we will bump it up to 5 o'clock around October 9th. In fact, I put the U10 practices all in for the season. And I think it's October 9th if that's a Tuesday. It's the second week in October, I believe. I picked to move back to 5 because we won't be able to be outside any later. So at the end of the season, we may not even make it to the scheduled time. So just always pay attention to the daylight. When it's dark, we got to go home. And in the end of October, it gets dark very early.
And we do keep everything up to date in TMAP, so if we need to communicate anything with you, we will use TMAP. So there's instructions on the form back there about how to get signed into that. That will be very important.
So one of the things that I really like about the academy model is that the teams are flexible. We can switch. We don't have to have set teams. And we try to have somewhat set teams so that parents can plan. But any given week, we can have people play differently. We can have girls play with the boys. We can have a U8 boy play with the U10 boys if that's what works best for that week, or if we run short on players. So don't be, and those of you who have been here, you probably have been asked to move to different levels or play multiple games or play with different teams. So we kind of really all work as a club versus having our individual set teams. So we will have now, when we only have one group, like for U8 girls last spring, we only had one group, so then you don't get quite as much variety. Last spring, U10 boys had 3 teams, and then you got a lot of variety of people you were playing with. So it kind of depends on the numbers, but U8 looks like it'll probably be only 1 team each. U10, we're probably have enough for 2 boys teams. Girls, U10 girls, in fact, if you happen to have a U10 girl, if you would stick around at the end, and we can talk quickly, because we're trying to put enough together to have a full team, but we need to talk to any parents that might be here about how we can make that work. So we're the shortest right now is U10 girls.
Well, one thing I do want to highlight, so Nick Josephson back there was helping me coach the girls 2 years ago when we only had enough girls to form a co-ed team. And for spring and fall now, we've had 8 girls at the U8 level to the point where we're almost able to go to 2 teams. So I'm really excited for the growth of the girls in the U8, that we're getting more girls coming out and playing. So that's very exciting, something I'm quite excited about.
And if we end up having, and if we ever end up where girls have to play with the boys, it really is actually not a bad thing. I know that sometimes parents don't always want to hear that at first, but we purposely last year were putting girls on the boys teams because that's what those girls needed. They needed that next level. So definitely mixing genders is another part that works really well with all of this too. What was the bottom thing on it?
Oh, games.
Okay, yeah, we already said. It will be important that you do let us know if you can't be there, especially for a game. We'll put RSVPs in for the games and stuff, and if you can please, click no and put a reason just so we know that you're not going to be there. As we plan, it's the most important thing with this, with the flexibility, is that we know when people aren't going to be there. If we show up and 4 people don't show up from the team, we got big problems. So that's a really big part, is that communication, letting us know that you're not going to be there.
Nate,
Yep.
just real quick, so on those Tuesday practices, if you know, so in the team app, if you can let us know, or on that Tuesday practice, if your son or daughter, or you can tell the coaches, and maybe remind them, the East Central League is coming down. They're a bit more strict this year. They had some problems the last few seasons with some teams just no-showing. And then, that could leave a team in Oshkosh going to Green Bay, and then a team no-show. So they're going through weekly. I'll communicate with the rest of the coordinators. Yeah, we have enough for this team, and it's confirmation just to make sure that doesn't happen. We don't want a family or team to have to travel X number of miles and it's a no-show. So they're coming down, a lot more communication within the ECSA league, which is great, but we just need that communication from you all so we know we can field a team for whatever game it is.
All right, uniforms. If you need, if you are new or your child grew a lot, uniforms will be have to be ordered by August 21st. There is a chance that you didn't get the link yet. We should have done the TMAP one first, but
There's a
that's
form
okay.
in the back too that tells you how to do it.
So there has been a link out there for our online store, and we'll resend it before the 21st. But for Academy, we use the official older uniform. It's in a very nice looking Adidas uniform. So each player though has to purchase their own. So there's an orange jersey and there's a black shorts, Adidas shorts. You do not need to buy the white jersey because if you go online, you'll see the white right there too. That's for the older kids. We only use orange. So you need one orange jersey and one pair of black shorts. Adidas sizing is strange if you don't have a jersey. I highly recommend if you don't have a kid with a jersey to try on. You go to Eagle Graphics on Crooks Avenue, right by the Family Video.
Closed. Eagle Graphics on Crooks Avenue closed. Yep, go to the corporate.
I was in there today. It was open.
Is it? Okay, and they might be only open for a few weeks because they're shutting their doors.
Okay, well,
Closing all
hopefully
their
they're
stores.
open until the 21st.
Yeah, right.
If that's the case, we can post something
Yeah.
on TMAP.
And if you have,
They haven't mentioned anything.
yeah, if there's issues, we can figure out a way to check sizing too. So otherwise, the orders are from the corporate store anywhere, and you order
Right.
online. So that part won't matter. It's only for the sizing part. So if you have an issue where you can't get there, and the problem I have is always their business hours. They're not open super late. So I'd be happy to bring a jersey or meet you sometime, and I have a bunch of different sizes for my own kids. So, but we do need to make sure that everyone gets ordered. If you do if your child grew and you want to order a new one, just a couple quick things. You can use them again in U11. You'll have to then just order the white to go with it. And from everything I have gathered, we have 2 years left on this uniform cycle. And then Adidas won't make this uniform anymore. And then we'll have to switch to a different one. So just so that you can kind of plan your future out there. That's what it looks like with Adidas.
And just make sure, if you can, order before, at the end of the day on the 20th, what's gonna happen, Mary Jo at Eagle Graphics is gonna come into work, shut down the store, and that will be it. So she's gonna place order right away when she comes in on the 21st, so. It
Oh,
says
so
the 21st is
the last
on there,
day?
at 7 a.m., but in reality, if you can get it in.
Yeah, actually, I think
20th,
I think online it says I think if you go to the store, it says the 20th at midnight. Actually.
I think it does.
So.
Yeah, so follow those rules on the.
Yeah, I think you're right.
She's gonna come in, shut it down, and order for food or whatever.
All right, two more quick things, I believe. Just a quick plug on volunteers, and then just quickly, I would touch on TMAP. I know still we do ask all parents, each family, I should say, to volunteer for 3 hours each season. A lot of that volunteer often comes either from helping at practices or coaching, or working concessions. We have a weekend when we usually at least one weekend, if not two, where we host, and we actually make pretty good money from having all the teams come to Greeno for the games. So we try to fill the concession stand with workers from 7:30 to 2 or whenever the last game is. So that's where a lot of the volunteering comes from. There's a lot of other opportunities. Sam is working with the equipment room in there, and I'm sure you can use volunteers for helping with goals, organizing, and all sorts of things with that. And definitely, like he said about coaching, you can help coach in different ways. You can just be a practice coach, and you can also then be more of a game coach on the sideline if you want. The only requirement for being a practice coach in working with the kids is you have to get a risk management card through Wisconsin Youth Soccer, which is
That's the sideline coach. If you're going to coach in a game, you need that.
okay. So if you're going to be an official coach, there's a couple of things that you have to do. You have to get a risk management card, which is basically a background check. Electric City will pay for it, but you have to get that and keep a coach card to coach. And then what's the other one called? The safe. So anyone who helped last year also, there'll be a new. There's another one from I don't know if it's a class or exactly what you call it, but
So it's an online training and it centers around bullying and child abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that all of us were required to go through just so we're aware of what are situations that might suggest that a kid is in a bad situation, whether it be being bullied or something worse. So something you go through, it takes about 2 hours to go through the training. And it's helpful, some good things to see, things to watch out for. And then when you're done with that, those are the two things you need to be a sideline coach.
And if you're going to continue coaching, we would also then U.S. Soccer offers a lot of classes to help you learn how to coach. Soccer does a good way because there aren't a lot of experience out there, so we teach you. So you can they have online coaching courses, or you can take them in person if you're I'm more of an in-person sort of person. I like to be there, and they'll teach you all of the things that you need to know also. So if you would like to help, you shouldn't be afraid. There's lots of training stuff that's out there. And in fact, if you are interested in helping, or you did help last year and you'd like to help again, please let us know before you leave so we can get a list, or let Ross know, maybe. That would probably be the easiest. And then we can get a list of coaches for the season coming up.
Well, and I would say is if you're even willing to consider it, please come talk to me, because I would say before 3-4 years ago, before I really started this, I didn't have a lot of experience with soccer, but I talked to Nate a lot. I can tell you how much I talked to him. And I actually learned a lot from my wife, who knows how to work with kids and knows how to make sure they're having fun and enjoying themselves, and I found I really like it. So don't think you have to have a ton of experience to come and help. I especially would really like a chance to talk to you if you're all interested.
The more the merrier. Nope, I think we talked about all of them on there. So just real quickly, I'm always putting out pushes for soccer board because this is the peak age to get people to join the Electric City board. So our board is an all volunteer run organization, and if your kid is in high school, you're probably on your way out, but we all have young kids, and so that's why we always talk to you the most about it. But we do have board meetings. Sam and I and Ross now has joined us, are on the board. I said before that I'm the registrar. Sam is working with equipment and a bunch of other different things. We have one board meeting a month, the third Sunday of the month. We have several open positions because we have people that are older now that are moving out. And actually, president is open. If you just want to step in and be president right away, it's open. But the old president is his childs are all in upper and high school. But we didn't put it on there because you probably don't want to just step into that one. So, but things like secretary, we're looking for a classic coordinator. Fundraiser has opened up recently, and then equipment manager is another one. So there's plenty of opportunities. If you're at all interested in helping, you don't even have to do one of those things. You can just talk to one of us. We are happy to give you more information about it. All right, last but not least, make sure that you get, if you have not gone on Team App, that you get on Team App. We do all of after tonight, we do all our communication through Team App. So you have to create an account if you don't have one already. I know a lot of you already have. ECADP is the name of the team. That's probably the only place you'll ever see ADP. But that was the original name of our program, and it's such a short little name for the app, it kind of works good. Everything else we go by Academy now. But if you join it, and then make sure that I went through today and I just might have changed some of yours, trying to get them in the right area, but you want to be with your child's group. So we can set things specifically for U10 boys or U10 girls. So if you have a U10 boy and you're in U8 boys, you would miss some of those communications. And that way we can cut down on some of the messages you get and such. So if you can double check your account and make sure that you have the right access group for the age of your children, that helps a lot. I did a little looking today, but make sure that you double check that also. The app works great. You can sync it to your calendar so that it comes right on your Google Calendar, and then you can do that with any of your kids that you might have. So it's a great tool. The practices will all be on there. The games, locations, and times will all be on there. So it's a really good tool, but you really make sure you got to get it, because otherwise you'll be missing a lot.
So again, all this information that's on the back table, so if you have any questions and it's not on a form, let us know and we'll make sure we've got one for the next meeting. But the idea there would be anything that you would need if you haven't been through this before should be there on the back table.
Are there any questions or anything that anyone had any questions about that we didn't mention already? If, like I'm sorry. Yeah, when you are in U11, you will have to have a white jersey also, yeah. In Classic, you have to have an alternate, so. We only have a problem when we play FC Green Bay. Since we're the exact same color, but otherwise it doesn't matter if it can, match up with anyone. So as I said previously, and feel free to ask us questions after the meeting. As I said before, though, if you do have a U10 girl, if you could come up to the front here, we'll have a little meeting about that first, and then we'll go from there. So, any questions for everyone?
Player code contact for practice.
Ideally first practice. So if your player isn't here, if you could have them bring the player code of conduct signed for the first practice.
And really, the signature isn't as important because they're young and signing their name and stuff. But if you can go over it, there's a lot of good things about doing your best and working hard and treating people with respect. So if you can go over it with them, we do appreciate that for sure. All right.
Do you want the parent one?
If you want to leave that, for sure. Yep.
When is the first practice?
I don't know that I actually said that, did I? So August 20th is when U10 is starting. U8 starting after that?
The following week.
The following
August 27th will be the first U8 practice.
So I did put, and I'll help Sam get the U8 schedule on there, but the U10 schedule is on the team app for the whole season. So.
Sorry, did you have a question, Ross?
I just wanted to let everyone know, we don't know the when and where of each Saturday. For the first 2 weeks.
6:30 for boys. That's right. 6:30
August
for
20th
boys.
at 6:30.
Sorry, didn't clean up everything from spring.
The girls.
We had more daylight in
So what I'm gonna do for U10 for the first 3 weeks is the girls will start at 5:30. They'll go to 6:45. The boys will start at 6:30 and go till 7:45. That's my plan. And it's all on. Make sure you double check on team app, but it's on. And we'll send out reminders before the 20th.
Any other questions? Anything else we can do for you? Thank you all for becoming a part of our program. For those of you that are returning, thanks for coming back. It'll be good to see the players grow. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Is there any other girls who want to play this fall? Did I send? You got the email that I sent. Because we. Because that's. Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. I know. Well, I need to send. All right. Yeah, you guys. We're right now. We're at.
What you looking for?
6 or 7. This is
Yeah, right. So you might as well just go.
Yeah, right.
So just make sure everybody's team. Just bring that back. So I got yours, so that's great.
Are they turning him in over there?
Talk to Nate, but if you did it for demonstration, that covered, we decided to roll everything in, so we weren't asking.
Do you have a U-turn girl? Yes. I'm Nate.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yes.
Check with him, I think it's fine.
You have an older daughter too?
Right, yeah, we needed to clean that up.
Yeah, because I do registration, so I read
Girls are,
what time is it? 6:30. Oh, okay, so, thank you guys.
until it gets too dark.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
They're like a sweaty bed.
Well, because we're running to the car, so I just
I didn't get a pierced. I enjoyed certification. Which,
So why don't we just start
Mom,
with the 2 hour,
can you
1
look?
to 10 players that want to do it. And if there is any such interest in.
Like 7 to 7.
you did the course Did you log back into the database?
We got a lot back in soccer. We're running through the hall.
If you log back in,
So we should talk to him too? Or we're gonna talk to him at a different time?
Sweat.
they're running about.
So do y'all wanna do it too?
We have a lot of information that goes through.
Gibson,
So the question is.
no more.
No more.
Because I know our whole team from last year wanted to do indoor, so for sure we have 6. How many people play indoor? And I knew it was so
It would really be nice to get 2 more girls. And I don't know if
She
there's
said that we'll talk about it at the first practice.
And then I know,
It's $25 online.
Which one was it?
Because the whole lot is
Child development information.
or it's not money.
So I know Nate will talk about that.
I mean, I don't really consider that. Because we could, I mean,
Okay, that's 2.
I was gonna say.
That's 3. All right.
but yeah, that was about. And I know that.
Okay, good, good, thank you.
I know that Claire.
Mommy, give me some water. What is it?
Yeah, but she's not going.
Does that bring them up to
No, not going. Oh,
Yeah, there's enough teams in front.
yeah, because I've already.
Do you have a 10 boy or
So. She's not sure. She's not sure she's ready for the dance.
Here, let me just.
Because if dance ends up Tuesday, Thursday, then she'll go make practice. So the option is to find another
I'm fully used to the
one.
equipment manager, but I'm also.
The challenge is we as coaches have to position another team.
That's what we were looking at, organizing, we have all of our inventory
Actually, it's one day.
Their classic coordinator is really more.
But, so we have to pick the number of teams. So we can sign people.
Make sure that programs for schedules.
For scheduling, we have to.
smoothly.
So
There is the fundraising.
I don't
if that's
know,
something that
I mean,
we
our
should
other
do,
option
or
is just not to worry about it. Just
running our
do it.
fundraiser, coming up with the numbers for the fundraising. And then the other one is there's just come and be part of it.
My daughter's
Listen
still
in.
like, if someone
Yeah,
falls over.
and that's definitely. what we do.
Right, right.
So she's not super competitive.
Right, and that's why we would like to, keep it as just girls. I know we would like to. But we may not, if we can't find another 1 or 2 players, I don't think that we would be able to have it, because we just can't play that. Especially if we end up with like 2 games in a
Then I
weekend.
would potentially
We
look
would-
at one of those other roles and potentially have.
So,
What's your name?
would you be able to reach out one more time
Yeah, so
to
the
your
next
team from last year?
is on, it's this,
And
it's coming
I
Sunday,
can-
is the next one, so
maybe I'll
you
send a
should
quick
definitely.
email to,
It's,
there were some U8 reps that joined,
yeah, it's here, at 7 o'clock, yeah,
but they were younger.
so it's 7
So
o'clock
maybe
here,
I
the
can
third
reach out
Sunday
to
of
the
the month.
U8 team, see if any of them turn a year older.
Yeah, just, tell
And
them.
then hopefully we can, if we can get, 8 or, if we can get
So
like
I
9,
won't be there
that'd be
this
perfect,
time,
then we can use some of the older U8 girls
I
or
think if we
something.
wanted to,
when
how
I'm
you
back,
did,
I'll
like,
reach out,
we really would like to make sure we can get a full team, we're looking for your help, yeah, I like that.
Right, if anyone has concerns about, the commitment and, you know, cost, we can talk, they can talk to me about it. But it's hard if they just don't want to do Saturdays. It's hard, cause that's when we need them for the game, so. If they can only be there like 2 Saturdays, that doesn't really help, so. We do need that kind of commitment for it. But there are 8 U8 girls now, so some of the older ones like Bella and Glenn, if they do.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So didn't sign up.
J-O-N?
If she was planning or not.
So is it a question of whether or not your girls are even gonna play, or is it just a matter of whether or not they play on their own team, or?
They can play. So if we don't, you can wait if you want. So if we don't have a girls team, the girls can always play with them. So if we decide we can't do a girls team, then we will, what we'll do is we'll go back to everyone and say, do you want to do cover? And if you don't, we'll let you out and, or help you find something else. But we would come back and ask.
Within enough time to still get a.
Yep, yeah, we have to decide, like, we have to decide this week. Yeah, we really need to know this week, yeah. So, that's kind of where we're at. I know Nick's been trying, he's tried a couple, but he hasn't been had almost a success. Right, right. Right, if they can make one of the 2 practices, that even works.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, just as a run coach though, I feel like people are scared I see this now, it's very friendly, and it's very,
Hey, Mason,
Sam's the friendliest person
I
I've
know,
ever
I know, I have to
Get
say,
down now.
I thought I was gonna come in, and I've even played
He's
soccer,
a perfect.
And that's what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody showed up. You let us know by email or?
Yes,
Sign
yep.
up for the app.
Yep, I will probably email you directly with update either way, so whatever we find out. Yep, no problem.
Okay, thanks. Very good. Sounds good.
I'll
Take
send out
care.
an email and a text.
Ready? Let's go.
Just, you know, 2 more would make it good. So. Oh yeah, anyone you know, yeah.
I mean, would it be easier to just
Keep these, I'm gonna keep
or would you prefer to?
Yeah,
I'm gonna build a master of the registration.
I think the girls would benefit to that. I know Jill will not want to do.
Okay.
Well, her concern is people like her older, have the same problem
Right.
year after year after year.
Yep.
I'm sorry. You just have?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
She's not here. No. You have to call her.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to her.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, guys.
yeah, I'll keep reaching out to people, and if you wanna reach out to your team, that would be excellent.
Just if they.
So, and if they have anything, if it comes down to, like I said, commitment or cost, just let me know, I can talk to them.
Okay, sounds good.
And like I said in the, if they wanna just do fall and, you know, switch back to spring, that's fine, but, okay?
Yeah, cause actually, that's what we were probably planning
Yep,
then.
that's fine.
I just want to share you an obvious candidate.
But
I
she was
love
the-
my rec
she
team
was the
though.
coach now.
No, I have a team, I love them.
It will probably love if you take So we just keep
So
you as a coach.
I know that the one parent I talked to.
Is that okay or not?
One time was
Mine and the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
So I know,
Thank you.
because Lincoln is on,
Lexus is so great.
Lincoln is on my son's team.
Okay.
I know he doesn't do fall, so I don't know if they weren't wanting to do it fall, but I know that she's one I had talked about it in the past.
But John.
Okay, yeah. I love that.
So if I
So
ask
some of Connie's work.
Why is that so hard?
Because my philosophy is just to have fun, like, I'm not a pressured person, so. Yeah,
That's for the high school though, it's not over there.
yeah.
What's that over there?
Are you looking for high school?
Yeah, for the
You're on there for.
So, for example, in August.
Yeah. Yeah, did you get Ken's document? Were you on there for Ken's Kozikowski? Ken ended up doing the schedule because him and that's the only ones that he was the only wasn't wanting to meet. So we sent out a document, but I don't know if you had your check.
I don't think so.
If
I don't know
we
if
end
we
up,
decided
if we end up
that
with that,
one
then it's
food
just sending more.
Yeah.
Right, at the
Right.
meeting.
At the meeting.
So that was, it was a nice change, I was gonna say on Monday.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fine.
nine last
Yeah,
year.
no,
Right.
as long as you play.
Caleb-
Kate's
Well,
Yeah.
And there's
Caitlin
Caitlin,
Carlson.
yeah, we got, they said there's 18.
Otherwise,
Caitlin,
it's fun,
so-
Caitlin
Casey just
Ward.
said try and
You guys are
Yeah.
fun.
Yes.
Caitlin Carlson.
Oh, okay.
I believe is still there.
You wanna see
She's
something, but I've been
signed up.
joining for.
Jason's in
We're still
Boston.
people that-
Yeah.
It wasn't looking at.
He wants you to
Yeah.
sign for our things.
U10.
You can
Yeah.
You can go.
I don't know.
You can be there.
Well, you can be there.
She's,
And the thing is, he wants, I told him, I said,
We were like blue this year.
Oh, be careful though, so
Yeah,
when
right.
school starts, you can
Oh,
hear
so
something.
well, I think August 15th, I think.
Okay. That's exciting. Another Joseph's. I'll practice it.
She was on last year, was on Coach
I
Beard's.
told him, I said, okay, so I said, we
I
can.
can't, there are numbers assigned, but what do you, because there's available.
Spring, I see what time.
For,
Yes, again, like I said.
She's
I said, oh, when, where you guys work,
You can see.
She going to see her.
So like, do you, do you have access to
Okay,
the
see, I can
Google
get
calendar that has
Got
the
where.
high school calendar?
Oh, she was like, yeah.
That you may not
Absolutely.
mention,
She
so,
was there.
but
Yeah,
that's,
she
who's
was
the
there.
owner of that?
Yeah, oh no, she was pretty down. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
high school?
Yeah.
This one that has,
Sure.
Yeah.
25.
Send it to Randy and Randy.
she puts the stuff on.
She sent it to me.
I think somebody needs to get internet access.
Oh, you don't have access to it?
No, me and Pat don't have access to it.
I'm still recording.
Did you know?
Recorded the post meeting?
Yeah, sorry.